everyone, welcome to Your Learn Lab. I'm Seema, and if you're an IGNOU student, you're in the right place. Here we create videos on different IGNOU courses to help you ace your exams. So hit subscribe and join me on this learning journey. Welcome to our MEG-01 IGNOU British Poetry Series Block 2. In today's session, we cover remarkable life of Edmund Spenser. He's best known as the author of the Faerie Queene, Amoretti, Epithalamion, and Protestant. But today we go beyond the surface. Why study his life? Because his biography gives us the key to unlock many themes in Renaissance poetry: ambition, virtue, power, and love. It also helps us understand how poets were not just writers, they were participants in the social and political systems of their time. So, in this lesson, we'll walk through Spenser's story, his rise from modest roots, his service in Ireland, his desire for patronage, and his poetic strategy. And of course, we'll talk about how you can use all this in your IGNOU's exam responses. Let's begin with the critical question: why should we care about Spenser's life? While the new critics told us to look only at the text, most modern theorists accept that context and biography can deepen understanding. In Spenser's case, this experience as a colonial administrator, a poet in pursuit of recognition, and a deeply religious thinker all shape the tone, imagery, and intention behind his poetry. This means when you understand Spenser's life, you unlock deeper meaning in poems like the Faerie Queene, Amoretti, and Epithalamion. This kind of insight is gold in your IGNOU essays. So, Spenser's story begins in 1552, London. He came from a modest background, possibly the son of a clothmaker, yet, like many Renaissance figures, his education transformed his life. At Merchant Taylor's School, he received rigorous training in classical languages. He later joined Cambridge University as a sizar, a poor student who earned his tuition through labor. Despite financial hardship, Spenser soaked in the humanist curriculum: Latin, Greek, Hebrew, rhetoric, and logic. He started translating works by Petrarch and Du Bellay, an early sign that he wanted to bring the power of European humanism into English. These beginnings shaped his poetic ambition and linguistic craft. At Cambridge, Spenser formed an intellectual bond with Gabriel Harvey, a scholar who believed that England needed a new kind of poetry, one that could rival classical greatness. Their discussions weren't just literary, they were strategic. They believed poetry could guide morality, influence rulers, and build national identity. Here, Spenser encountered the central conflict of his poetic life: the tension between sensual Renaissance delight and Christian virtue. You'll see this align again in his portrayal of women, virtue, and love in his poems. In 1579, Spenser's poetry began to circulate in elite literary circles. He joined the household of Earl of Leicester and connected with Philip Sidney, who advocated for poetry as a tool for moral and national reform. That same year, Spenser published The Shepherd's Calendar. It's a set of 12 poems, one for each month, written in various styles and voices. On the surface, they seem pastoral, but they hide sharp critiques of the church, the state, and poetic conventions. This work marked him as more than a dreamer. It showed him as a daring reformist voice in poetry. Spenser's life took a dramatic turn in 1580 when he was sent to Ireland as a secretary to Lord Grey. He later acquired an estate, Kilcolman Castle, under the Munster Plantation, a colonial program displacing Irish landholders. Ireland for Spenser was both poetic inspiration and political reality. He wrote much of the Faerie Queene in this violent, conflicted land. His poems imagined moral order, but his prose, especially A View of the Present State of Ireland, called for violent control and cultural suppression. This contrast between poetic idealism and political realism is key to understanding his complexity and how we critically engage with colonial era writers today. In 1590, Spenser returned to London with hopes of courtly reward. He published the Faerie Queene, his allegorical epic celebrating Protestant virtue and Queen Elizabeth. Though admired, he didn't receive a stable court position. His disillusionment is evident in Colin Cloud Come Home Again, where he critiques the insincerity of courtly life. Yet, he never abandoned his ambition. He continued to write, adding more books to the Faerie Queene and developing a distinctly English poetic style, moral, ornate, allegorical. Spenser's personal happiness shines through in Amoretti and Epithalamion, written for and about Elizabeth Boyle, his future wife. These poems celebrate successful, fulfilled love, a rare theme in Renaissance sonnets. In Amoretti, he praises her virtues while revealing his own self doubt and longing. Epithalamion is a grand wedding hymn that fuses pagan ritual with Christian spirituality. It's joyful, structured, and deeply personal. This emotional depth helps humanize the Spenser we often see only as a moralist. Unlike noble born poets, Spenser had to earn his recognition through poetry. Yet he was careful in how he presented himself, not as a boastful but as a humble servant of virtue. This aligns with Castiglione's Book of the Courtier, which advised courtiers to appear effortless, modest, and gracious, even while being incredibly skilled. Spenser's poetic voice balances this contradiction, bold in ambition but gentle in tone. In this way, Spenser performed the role of a poet as a civic guide, not as a mere entertainer. In MEG-01, essay questions often ask about Spenser's theme, style, or poetic persona. Use biography not as a filler but as analytical context. When writing on the Faerie Queene, link his Irish role to his obsession with order and virtue. In Amoretti, show how his courtship reflects both personal longing and Renaissance ideals of womanhood. Compare him with Sidney, who wrote from aristocratic privilege, or Marlowe, who was more rebellious and theatrical. Let's sum up what we've covered. Edmund Spenser's life tells the story of a man shaped by his education, his politics, and his passion for poetry. He rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most ambitious literary figures of his time. His experiences in Ireland, his longing for courtly favor, and his personal joy in love and marriage all found their way into his poetry, each theme deepened by his real life journey. Understanding his biography allows us to approach his works, the Faerie Queene, Amoretti, Epithalamion, with greater clarity and critical depth. For your IGNOU exams, this kind of context gives you an edge both in analysis and expression. In our next lesson, we will begin exploring Amoretti and Epithalamion. See you there. Thank you for joining. All the best for your exams. Do add your comment to let me know how you found it. So if you found this video helpful and would like to learn more, be sure to like, share and subscribe to Your Learn Lab. See you in the next one. Until then, happy learning.